Hello, family. I'm Robert, and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey,
I would like to welcome everyone to the Atlanta Step Up Society book study. The name of our book study is Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer.
God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
You know, I was thinking about, this is my thinking. I was thinking about changing that group. Remember I told y'all the College Park? Our group. But then circumstances start coming around. It's telling me to stay here. You know, our technology is advancing. People all over the place know that we're at this location. So I think what I'm going to do is just stay. But we are going to make some changes up here. I want to clean it out real good. Everything that's extra in here, it need to go. Like the file cabinets and all that we're not using, we're going to clean it out and we're going to repaint the place. And get some nice chair with some cushions. You know, we can improve here. Change the carpet and make it look more like a meeting place. How's that? All right, and I think that's for the best. We've been home for a long time. Let's keep it home. You can improve home. You don't have to move down the street to make an improvement. All right, now there's something special tonight, and I'm going to take my time and set it aside and turn it over to Charles B.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Charles. Yeah.
Hey, Charles.
We just came back from a man's retreat. And every year at the man's retreat, we give out an award for the person that's doing the most, you know, that does work in the community. And this year, we decided to give it to King. And they like this award. Recovery. He always did it, and he died, and so we made an award for him, and that's yours, King. Congratulations.
All right. I don't really know what to say, but Ken. I don't really know what to say, but I'm really surprised. I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to try to live up to this.
All right.
Y'all don't know, Leroy's deceased now, but Leroy D was a good friend of mine. And he started, Club Skate? And but I remember before it was Club Skate, he was an inspiration for me. He built at his mother's house. Now he was already 60. At his mother's house, he built, took her garage in the backyard and turned it into a clubhouse. And we used to have book studies there. And he was really the first person that got me into studying the book. I saw him at a meeting, I heard him share, and I asked him to be my sponsor. And he had his book, and it was all raggedy. And the pages had about 100 marks on each page where he was taking notes. He said, if your book can look like mine, and you're willing to commit to study like I do, then I will sponsor you. If not, we're not going to be able to do it. And so that's how I got started into the book, because I was impressed at the way he took notes. And I think that if you less than that, you need to reevaluate why you're here. You know, and that's how they say, why are you here? And you need to reevaluate why you are here. Because the universe don't care whether you do it or not. You get rewarded for doing it, and you'll get rewarded for not doing it. You're going to get blessed. Whether it's a good blessing or a bad blessing, it don't care. It's in the blessing business. It's like gravity. You're not going to be able to change gravity. You're going to fall. Alright, so what we're going to do tonight is we're not moving, and Ken, that's an honor. But we're going to take a look at the Family Afterward on page 122. You like a book?
No, okay, thank you.
Okay. And what we do is we YouTube this, and it goes all around the world. People from all different countries that I have never heard of, email us and communicate with us about this book study. People subscribe every week. You know, then that's a fascinating thing, because I think this should be global, you know. And evidently, every time I turn around, things are happening that's expanding at a larger and larger rate. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's a good feeling. That's a real good feeling. That means that I'm spiritually in alignment, and you guys are too. If you leave here and you've been noticing that you've been coming to this study, but your life is getting bigger, your life is getting better, that's because you're a product of this. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you're going to improve. That makes sense? All right. I'm excited about doing this chapter because I learned so much in the previous chapter, 2 wives. So I couldn't wait to get to studying. And I had to kind of contain my excitement today when I heard people talking all day long, because they were sharing about what's in the chapter tonight. And I could say, wow, I just studied that, I know this or I know that, but I contain it and let it come out tonight. But that was my confirmation all day long, that I was studying in the correct manner. All right, let's start tonight, The Family Afterward, on page 122. All right, Paul.
Family Afterward. Our women folk have suggested certain attitudes a wife may take with a husband who is recovering. Perhaps they created the impression that he is to be wrapped in cotton wool and placed on a pedestal. Successful readjustment means the opposite. All members of the family should meet upon the common ground of tolerance, understanding, and love. This involves a process of deflation. The alcoholic, his wife, his children, his in-laws, each one is likely to have fixed ideas about the family's attitude towards himself or herself. Each is interested in having his or her wishes respected. We find the more one member of the family demands that the others concede to him, the more resentful they become. This makes for discord and unhappiness.
Wow. That's a lot, but it's very deep. It affects my life. It says, our women folk, they're talking about the chapter before this one, 2 wives, have suggested certain attitudes a wife may take with the husband who is recovering. Remember, they had all those attitudes and suggestions. They had a long list, long as Leviticus, about what to do and what not to do. All right? Perhaps they created the impression that he is to be wrapped in cotton wool and placed on a pedestal. You know, this is not the language that I use every day, so I had to go and Google what they meant by wrapped in cotton wool. It says to protect someone too much without allowing them to be independent enough. It's to protect someone, to wrap them up. You know, like you go when there's like mansions, y'all go in mansions, you know what I'm saying? If you work for our company, you will experience some mansions. Some real expensive homes that we go in to get donations, right? You ever went in there and seen where they take like a pillowcase or a sheet and wrap a statue and then tape it and put it to the side? They containing that, you know what I'm trying to say? They're keeping that thing independent. Don't touch that. That's what they be saying. That's not going to go. So what they're saying is that these women took these guys and giving the impression that we want to contain them. You know what I'm trying to say? We want to keep those people, keep them allowed. We're not allowing them to be independent. We don't want them to be free. We want to keep them on with us, wrap them up, put them on the pedestal, on the shelf somewhere, stay there, and we got this. But the alcoholic is the opposite. We have to be reunited back into society. That makes sense? We have to get back out. We deserve to get back out and be free men and women. to go back out into society, not put on no shelf, not as a trophy. All right, you clean and sober, just stay here and maintain that status. And that's one of the things that I'm opening up, and my vision is expanding, because I think that sometimes in recovery, we come into recovery, but we don't have hope after we leave treatment. You know, you come into recovery and you stay 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but what is out there after you leave? What is out there? So we need to create an atmosphere that when newcomers come in, that they have some type of hope, some type of job, some type of career, that they can maintain sobriety and be productive members of society. I see a lack of job placement. I see a lack of people earning and living. You know, it's one thing to be clean and sober and still dependent on everything else, than to be clean and sober and free to be a productive member of society. You know, so in a way, we wrap our own in cotton and place them on a shelf. And then some kind of way we figure out how to come out the cotton and go get drunk. So my thing is that we need to raise independent, productive members of society as newcomers that's coming up out of recovery, coming up out of these addictions, and let's have a healthy, safe recovery environment after we come out of these treatment centers. That makes sense? And I just wanted to throw that in. Now we can get back to the family. Successful readjustment means the opposite. Meaning you got to get out there and you got to live life on life terms. You know what? I read a book one time. They were talking about professional fellowshipper who get addicted to just fellowship, that they're afraid to do anything else. They don't go to ball games, they won't go to football games, they won't enjoy life because they're addicted to the room. You can't get them. And I met people like that. I'm not saying bad, I'm not saying good, I just said I read a book about that. How you might say, Antonio, let's go to Hawks tonight. I can't go, I gotta go to a meeting. But what about tomorrow night? I gotta make that meeting too. What about the night after? I gotta go to that meeting. 5 years down the line, he still haven't seen a Braves game. Because he's addicted to what? Meetings. He won't break free from a meeting to enjoy life. Alright? So it says that successful readjustment means the opposite. That means we have to do things that's opposite of just being contained. All members of the family should meet up on the common ground of tolerance, understanding, and love. Anytime you got somebody that's recovering in your household, you're going to have tolerance, understanding, and love. Then it goes on and says, this involves a process of deflation. They're talking about the ego, deflating the ego. Our 12 steps are ego deflators. When you work the 12 steps, every time you do a step, one of the 12 steps, and you really get into it, it deflates your ego and gives you more humility. See, the first step, when I found out I had the disease of addiction, what it really meant, I had to deflate my ego to the point that, you know what? I thought I was invincible. I thought I could conquer this thing. I knew that I could just wheel my way past all this alcohol and drugs. I could quit when I get ready. But after I learned about the fullness of the obsession of the mind and the phenomenal craving, and I accepted that, my ego was deflated. I didn't have to fight it no more. I could relax. I can say, you know what? I really, truly have the disease of addiction. I cannot take one. I can't take one drink or smoke one anything that's mine altered. Cannot do it. My ego was deflated. I was able to walk humbly around other people who did it. I like to go to fine restaurants. Once my ego was deflated, I realized I can walk in there, but I can't take a drink because I suffer from the disease of addiction, the illness of addiction. I didn't have to walk in there and tell folks, well, I ain't got to do it. I'm Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't need to do it. I don't have to do none of that. My ego has been deflated. God, you got this, because I can't do it. Get to step 2, you got to deflate your ego to believe in a power greater than yourself. If you thought you had it going on, they're telling you that you don't. To turn your will and your life over to another care, you got to deflate your ego to do that. And Lord knows you got to deflate your thinking and your ego to even consider doing a 4-step. Because the ego don't want you to work on yourself. It wants you to be above yourself. You got to deflate the ego in every step. Does that make sense? You can go all the way down. That's deflation. Then the alcoholic, his wife, his children, his in-laws, each one is likely to have fixed ideals about the family's attitude toward himself or herself. We look at these families, right? Everybody in the family got an idea of how this thing's supposed to work. I know for me, when I first got clean and sober, I wasn't married. But I can remember my wife and my daughters. My mother and my daughter. My mother had this fixed idea about us. She wanted me to come home, paint her house, keep the grass cut, all this kind of, now you clean and sober, you owe me for all the things you done. That's how she was. You owe me. I want my house painted, I want this, I want that. My daughters, they wanted all the stuff that they didn't get, when I was using, they want that back. I want this, you deserve to do that, you need to get a job. They had fixed ideals about how this thing's supposed to run. I hear that in here a lot when we be sharing. Family members, children, mothers, and fathers got fixed ideals about what you're supposed to do now that you clean and sober. They're going to run our life. And it said right here, each is interested in having his or her wishes respected. It ain't nothing about the alcoholic. It's about their wishes. What they want. We find the more one member of the family demands that the others concede, that means allow, agree, acknowledge to him, the more resentful they become. The more people try to put demands on us, and we don't do it, we're not allowing them to do what they're supposed to do, they become more resentful. They become more resentful. And myself too, the alcoholic can become more resentful. It's just too much demand being put out. This makes for discord and unhappiness. So that makes tolerance, understanding, and love more understandable now. If you're just coming back into a family, and I advise people, especially newcomers, I really advise newcomers to be very, very tiptoeish around your family. Because you're clean and sober don't mean that they have changed about you. They still see you in that light. And once you get a little bit sobriety under your belt, they're going to start demanding stuff from you. I'm a living experience of that. It took me a long time. When I opened this thrift store, every family member I knew was standing in line to collect. Because they thought I owed them something. Right, Dante? And quite naturally, I might did. But I was trying to live another life. I'd rather you let me give it back to you than you take it from me. So I see a lot of heads shaking because y'all don't know what it is. And when it don't happen, this makes for discord and unhappiness. So tolerance, understanding, and love must be the common ground. Everybody need to show love to each other. Everybody need to understand each other, and everybody should try to have love for each other. And that understanding is very important. That's very important. I have this friction, and I see it all around. I see it in the men's houses. I see it in my own house. I see it in the job place. I see it everywhere. I see where two people are at it. I think I talked about this before. Two people, students do this. Two people are at it, at each other. You see it on reality TV. But they don't know each other. You don't know why I act the way I act. You don't know why I don't like cheeseburgers. You know why I don't eat grits. So if you cook grits and I don't eat it, then you got an attitude. But you never asked me why I don't eat grits. First of all, grits don't taste good to me. I don't like butter like that. I never was a butter eater. Okay? You know how you melt butter on grits? So you put a mouthful of grits in there, what's the first thing you taste? Butter. And forget about putting sugar on it. I don't like to eat sugar. So every grits taste like nothing. So whatever you put on top of it, that's just me. It's gonna taste like that. You know what I'm saying? That's how it tastes to me. I don't like, and my mother forced that down on us because we were so poor that all we had was grits. You had grits and the cheese that was on a chunk that you cut from the welfare. That's what we ate. My nephew in here said he ain't eat nothing like that. But when I was a little kid, that's what we ate. And that's spam. And the grits that they gave you for free is not like the grits that you buy in the store. They were big, chunky, you know. Big yellow. Yeah, big yellow. You know, you can ball it up and knock a hole through the wall. So I don't like grits. So now let's put it back in perspective. If we I live in a treatment center with y'all, and somebody said, I'm gonna make breakfast for everybody, I'm gonna cook some grits, and if I don't eat it, that person's gonna be insulted. He's gonna be mad. Gonna have a resentment against me. He wouldn't eat my meal. Then he's gonna go out and start mind mimicking, telling everybody else in the house how bad it is and how I disrespected them. Then they gonna carry it. Then they gonna go wherever they go. They gonna talk about it. Then they have the fellowship sharing about it. But if that person would have asked me, why you don't like grits? And I told them my grit story, then they have an understanding.
Right.
Probably say, you know what? Under them circumstances, I might not eat them either. But my mother, the grit maker, my mother made nice grits. And she bought her grit from the grocery store. We didn't use all that butter. We had margarine. When I mean butter, I'm talking about real butter. The big square blocks. I don't even see them. They still make them big 1 pounds. You know what I'm saying? You know? So that's the butter that we ate. So I understand why he enjoys butter, and now he has an understanding why I don't enjoy butter. So that understanding created an atmosphere of love, so next time butter is cooked, neither one of us is going to have a resentment about it because of understanding. So my moral of the story is, if you dislike someone and you got something against someone, why don't you talk to that some person? Share information to see if you can find an understanding and some love. They go together. All right, the next paragraph.
And why? Is it not because each wants to play the lead? Is it not each trying to arrange the family show to his liking? Is he not unconsciously trying to see what he can take from the family life rather than give?
These are some questions. Ain't no point in answering the questions right now because they're going to do that for us. All right? But the question that I like is it not because each one wants to play the lead? So the grit cooker is playing the lead, and everybody better follow along with the grits. Is he not unconsciously trying to see what he can take from the family life rather than give? Some situations, people think that they are entitled to certain things in a family. I got kids, And when I started getting clean and sober, I got one particular one that thought she was entitled. You brought this suffering on me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be the way I am now. So, you need to start giving. So that person wasn't thinking about recovery, wasn't thinking about my life. She wanted what she could take from me as instantly, fast as she could. How much? She would ask me, how much money you make this week? I'm the father. You asking me what my paycheck like? He said, I deserve it. Give me. Give me. So I'm just telling you my situation, but it affects everybody's situation. You stay clean and sober, and you go around your family, you're going to see some of that. Maybe not in my style, you know what I'm saying? What happened to my experience, but you're going to experience some of that. I had a friend the other last week called me, his sister arranged a dinner on a Monday. He was bent out of shape about it. Nobody even asked me. They called me Monday morning. You need to show up. But that was family trying to do a control. Things like that happen all the time. So we need to be aware of it. Either we do it, we do go along with it, or we don't go along. Our program teaches us acceptance. If you're not aware of it, then you sure can't accept it. You have to be aware of what's going on. The only way you're going to truly get aware of what's happening is by working the 12 steps. The next one.
Cessation of drinking is but the first step away from a highly strained, abnormal condition. A doctor said to us, years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic. The entire family is, to some extent, ill. Let families realize as they start their journey that all will not be fair weather. Each in his turn may be footsore and may struggle. There will be alluring shortcuts and bypaths down which they may wander and lose their way.
All right, this is deep. Cessation. That means to stop, shut off, or terminate. We was talking about this earlier. I told the people that we were talking about it was in the book. The stopping of drinking, the shut off of drinking, or the termination of drinking is but the first step away from a highly strained, abnormal condition. We live a highly strained, abnormal condition. Our lives have become unmanageable. The first blessing in recovery is the stoppage of drinking. It's sobriety. Once you quit using, that's the first blessing. Can't stop there. There's an infinite amount of blessings after that. I know a lot of people that still stuck on just don't take a drink. Everything's fine. The book said a little farmer story that explained it. It said that this alcoholic farmer had the farming way of thinking. This farm had been through a tornado. It ripped everything. Cause you won't be a farmer, right? It ripped up everything. This is a little inside joke. It ripped up everything. The barn gone, the house gone, all the tomatoes gone, the chickens, everything gone. When they knew that the storm was coming, they went down in the cellar on the ground. When it was over, it's in the book. It came up. The farmer looked at his wife and said, ain't it grandma? The wind has stopped blowing. She said, are you a fool? Ain't nothing grand out here. We ain't got no owl, the barn gone, the chicken gone, the horse, the dog, everything tore up. You talking about ain't it grand? She said, no, That sound like an alcoholic and say, I ain't took a drink, everything fine. I'm highly blessed. Sobriety is the first miracle. Don't get that fooled. Don't let nobody tell you just don't do dope. That's very important. But that's the beginning of your sober life. That makes sense? It's way beyond that. You're going to be anything you want. Sky's the limit. Your imagination is the limit. You can grow beyond your farthest dreams ever if you don't take the drink. I agree with that, but I don't want nobody to be stopping there thinking that they got it made. That's it. That is not it. It says it right here. Cessation, the stoppage of drinking, is but the first step away from a highly strained abnormal condition. So if you live in a family, and you know an alcoholic is in a family, it's highly strained and very abnormal. Because they even said that the family, the wife went to recluse, that's the word, withdraw completely from society, family, friends, and everything. So you come home sober now, you sober, you still right there. You still have to re-enter into society. And that's what my whole thing is about, the job thing. We got to re-enter into society. We just can't even step with the fellowship no more. We need to start teaching people how to be reproductive members of society. That's where we belong. It says right here, a doctor said to us, years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure means almost 100%. It's 99.9. I'm almost sure. What's that man, Maury? I'm almost sure 99.9% this your child. I'm almost sure of that. But let me, yes, yo. Years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic. I'm not going to go into the medical terminology. Let me just use the weapon. A mental or emotional disorder. A mental or I stand corrected. To the world. They use a conjunction. A mental and A-N-D. It's not or. It's not pick one or the other. They put the two together. Mental and emotional disorder. That means you got both. If you live with me, I'm just going to talk about me. It's almost sure 99.9% that you're sick as hell. I ain't gonna curse no more. I hell is not curse, but you know what I'm saying. I don't even want to do that, but it is funny. You 99% sure that you sick, mentally and emotionally. Now that goes back to all these ones who want to go on these relationships. If you're in treatment, you got 30 days, and she's attracted to you, something wrong. I see them, they got 2 weeks later. That's my girlfriend. Oh Lord. She loves you. That means she's mentally and emotionally sick. My boyfriend in jail. I've been writing him. You ever met him? Nah. You mentally and emotionally disordered. You need to get some help. You need to go on them damn treatments. The entire family is, to some extent, ill. Now to get to the serious part. The family's sick. if an alcoholic or an addict lives in the family for a long period of time, the entire family, they say wife and children is sick. That explains some of my children. Everybody else in my mind too. They doing this, they doing that. I told y'all my mother broke that down to me. I have a daughter that I used to think lie all the time. Just tell stories, exaggerate them. Just tell stories. She make up stuff. So I was over there one day, and I'm 1 year clean, honest program, and working on some steps and going to a lot of meetings. I done learned the serenity prayer. I'm straight. I'm righteous. So I'm at my mom's house, and I'm telling my mom, she always do that. Why she just a lie. My mom said, whoa, why are you putting her down like that? I said, but it's the truth. We don't learn some truth. Sharing 2 minutes. Sharing the truth. She said, hold up. Do you know why she do that? I said, nah. She said, because you were never around. That's why you don't know. When she was a little girl, and I have a brother that that's deceased now, I was always using. I was gone either in the military or in the homeless. Every time my daughter would get some money from my brother or anybody give her some money, she would make up a story that her dad gave it to her. So if she got $100 and got her hair braided and some new shoes or something, an outfit, she would say, my dad bought this for me. So she was telling people in the school, my brother used to pick her up from school, she would say, my dad just came and got me. Because we look just alike. So the whole time, as other people were doing anything, she would make up stories and pretend it was me. But it wasn't me. It was not me. So by her continuing to do that, it made her mentally and emotionally disordered. And I'm going to come back with my righteous behind to try to correct it. Not with no understanding and love about what happened. Once I got the full story, I stopped that, the understanding. My father was an alcoholic, stone alcoholic. I come from an alcoholic family. And I always said I never drank. And there I was, the alcoholic in my family, leading the pack. He used to be outside, I told you, he would get so drunk, sometimes he would be outside in my mama's front yard, butt naked drunk. All the kids in the neighborhood had seen it. So they used to get off the school bus and stuff and run up there to see if they can catch him. He ain't work, so they can joan me. That's why I became a professional joner. That's why I'm funny now, because I had to learn to protect myself. People try to joan me anywhere I go. They try to joan me. I said, you don't want to do that. I'm a professional joner. You know what I'm saying? Just like a comedian get paid for it. I probably could have got paid for joning, because I'm professional. I wasn't going to let you attack me. I get you. I had you crying about your mama. You want to fight me? So my father was an alcoholic like that. And I remember in school, everywhere, I was so ashamed of that household that I would write down my aunt's address. I never put my address. I put my uncle's name as my father. You know what I'm trying to say? I fabricated the whole thing all the way through. Even through college. I got so good at it, that made me mentally and emotionally disordered. So if I'm mentally and emotionally disordered from my family surrounding, and I'm ill, then when I get married, I'm bringing that illness to them. And then I start drinking. They end up the same way. So if there's generational curses, then it was in effect. But the buck stops here. This recovery puts a stop to that. Put the brakes on. And you start changing and making the life blossom again. That makes sense? So if you're in love and you got 30 days, you better know who's loving you. Look, they say the entire family is, to some extent, ill. Let families realize as they start their journey that all would not be fair weather. It's not going to be one beautiful, fast fairy tale life from the beginning of recovery to the end. Each in his turn may be footsore, from walking too much, got a little sore tender foot, and may, what's that word? Straggle. That means to wander from a direct course or way. If you're on a course, if you're in school and you're on a course, and you detour, straddle. That's why you got to look these words. I told you this ain't written in the conversation that I use. That never would have been a word I would have used in an entire lifetime. But it's okay, because that's why we got Google. To wander from the direct course or way. So they're saying that it's not going to be a fair weather, and each one of us in our family is going to get somewhat tired, wore out, and going to come off course. We're going to do stuff that probably is not in alignment. That makes sense? And that's the way it is. And they put a period right there, and that's what they said. There will be alluring shortcuts and bypass down which they may wander and lose their way. It's kind of like that TV show, The Preacher's Daughters. You're going to go. You're going to straddle. You're going to go to the left or go to the right. And that's a part of family, though. But I think, for me, the most beautiful part about it is that I've seen it in my family. I did it myself. But at least I'm clean enough and sober enough now to see it. In my drinking days, I wouldn't have seen nothing. Nothing. I wouldn't have knew who went to the left, who went to the right, or who doing this, who doing that, because it would have been one big blob. And wouldn't have had no interest in it, period. Where's the next bottle? That would have been my total concern. The next paragraph.
Suppose we tell you some of the obstacles a family will meet. Suppose we suggest how they may be avoided, even converted to good use for others. The family of an alcoholic longs for the return of happiness and security. They remember when father was romantic, thoughtful, and successful. Today's life is measured against that of other years, and when it falls short, the family may be unhappy.
This, I'm going to stick with alcohol though, but this goes with everything. This little paragraph affects everything in a family. Suppose we tell you some of the obstacles a family will meet. And you know when they say that, they're going to tell us. Alright? Suppose we suggest how they may be avoided, even converted to good use for others. Let's talk about that for 1 second. It's going to expand on that, I'm pretty sure. Even converted to good use for others. Even as alcoholics and that, I found that in my past, since I know how to make amends, and I went through that process, and I work on myself every day, even when I fall short, I find that I have a built-in tool in me now that I make amends and try not to do that no more, and make that bad good. If I make a mistake or somebody by mistake, I forgive that person, and we try to get to the next best thing. That makes sense? That's what recovery teaches us. But if you know that people who not in recovery, not doing that, they're going to hold that against you. It ain't going to be no more good. You did this in 1994. And they're going to hold that grudge. And the book says that they are allowed to hold that grudge like that. But we can't. Because for us, resentment is the number one offender. It kills more alcoholics than anything else. People say, how you know all that? Well, how you can go back in the book like that? I am the book. You have to allow the book to come alive in you. I don't need no pages and all that. It's me. It became alive in me, and my purpose on life is to make it alive in here. So I can't harbor resentments, so it's real easy for me to get them up out of me and move on, because I see that they make me sick. It's like me harboring that resentment. It's like being pissed off with someone else. I drank the poison, remember I told you that? And I'm the one sick, but I'm thinking I'm making them sick, and I'm drinking the poison. The poison is the resentment. I'm holding on to poison. So I had to get it up out of me, but I have to be aware that other people don't have to do that. They can harbor it for the rest of their life and never take a drink. But not us. I'm saying that to all of us. So we do have to convert things that's bad to good use, and then give it to others, the good part. The family of an alcoholic longs for the return of happiness and security. That's true. If you come from an alcoholic family and they struggled for years with that kind of struggle, then you turn around and you get clean and sober, they want that happiness and security that they remember that happened and existed before this disease or illness took its toll. They be looking for that, which is to me normal. To me normal. In fact, they think they deserve it, they owe it, and got to have it. Because we went through all this hell because of your addiction. They remember when Father was romantic, thoughtful, and successful. They remember when they had the nice house and beautiful cars, then they had to go and move with the in-laws because it's all gone. Now you back, they want that same stuff back into their life. That's quite, to me, that's understandable. Today's life is measured against that of other years. That go both ways. The family here look at other years, and today you clean and sober, they measure that with the past good years that they had. And when it falls short, the family may be unhappy. You start out, you get that good, you come in recovery, you get to 90 days, you do step 1, 2, and 3. You start bringing in money, start back going to the movies, going out to dinner. The kids went from exchanging clothes to wear to school to now they all got their own pants. You know, they all got their own dresses. You know what I'm trying to say? You got a few gifts in Christmas time and everything look bright or something like that, and then you go relapse. Fall apart. The family may be unhappy. Or it could be another way. There's a million ways, I'm just throwing out a few. You could get clean and sober and have a nice, big, beautiful, heavenly, spiritual awakening. Spiritual experience. Well, I ain't working nowhere. I'm going to help others. That happens. I don't see it happen. Well, they thought you were going to come home, get a job, and pay some bills. You done got all holy. Religious. I'm going to work with alcohol and that. Uh-oh. The family may become unhappy. Because that ain't what they wanted. They go both ways. All right, Paul.
Family confidence in Dad is rising high. The good old days will soon be back, they think. Sometimes they demand that Dad bring them back instantly. God, they believe, almost owes this recompense on a long overdue account. But the head of the house has spent years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, health. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. Though old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones, the new structures will take years to complete.
Wow. Family confidence in Dad is rising. And, excuse me, that's a known fact. When your father come home, he clean and sober. I seen it in my family. I never forget this incident. It was the most beautiful thing that I can remember in my childhood with my father being an alcoholic. Because my father was a real alcoholic, the unemployable type. You know, the type that we had to put in a room by himself, and it gets so bad in there to quiet him down, we would take wine and liquor bottle and open the door and push it in. You know, have you ever seen Soul Food? Remember that movie? When the uncle said in that room, that's how my father was. And we would push it in there, right? So he was a stone alcoholic, right? But my father, I gotta say something good about him though. He died clean and sober. He had like 12 years at New Rush Hour Relief group. He was remember that home group, right, Jane?
Right.
So the point is that I remember how when he did get clean and sober and he got a job, how our hopes would rise, confidence would rise. I remember one year, me and my brother wanted a mini bike. And that was the time when kids in the neighborhood would get mini bikes. And by the grace of my mother, because she worked 2 jobs, that we kept the house. So we stayed in the neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood. So all the kids were getting mini bikes, and we just knew that we wasn't going to get one. We were not getting a mini bike. So, and they convinced us that we wasn't getting one. Can't afford it. Christmas morning, we woke up and a mini bike was there. That was the most beautiful thing that I could remember. We had a mini bike. Now it was just a regular Walmart mini bike. That was the one that was like $119. You know, that was a lot of money then. But it was just the little seat and the frame with the motor sitting there. Now across the street, the guy who lived across the street, his father owned a bus company. He had this big old mini bike look like a motorcycle. It was beautiful. Yellow and everything. So me and my brother, I told y'all last week how mechanically inclined my brother was. So we ride our mini bike, and he come by. My brother said, we're going to fix that. My brother went and got some parts from somewhere. And he souped up that little mini bike. Right? And he changed the butterfly, you know what I'm talking about, the butterfly in the back and all that. We ended up having the fastest motorcycle. So that nobody knew how he did it. So we ended up with the fastest motorcycle, mini bike in the neighborhood. So anybody who would come by with their fancy one could not race it. Woo! We go right by him. 75 miles an hour. I don't know how that boy did that. It was so fast that we had to put on gear. Remember that? We had to put on gear, pads, helmet. Nobody, at that time, nobody rode like that. But me and him had to, we had us a fast one. But it was all contributed to my alcoholic father. Sobered up to get his boy that minute bike. Alright, so that was our confidence. The good old days will soon be back, they think. Sometimes they demand that dad bring them back instantly. So a family that suffered and went through a lot, when dad sobers up, they want some instant results right then and there. If you're in relationships and you're in treatment, or you're married and you're in treatment, I see the outside, people outside your family pulling on you before you even finish your treatment. They want that to happen while you're in treatment. You're in a 30-day program. They sending you bills. If you think, you know, in their mind, you sober. Get to work. Forget about working on yourself. They start sending bills in and calling you, interrupting your recovery to come home. Leave. Because the bills need to be paid. They want it instantly. God, they believe, almost owes this recompense. That means compensation. God owes us this because we put up with your butt. In so many words. And to be compensated, that means you have some good come to you. Right? On a long overdue account. It's been years that we struggle. You say you got God, I believe in God, so God owes us. That you need to repay us right now for putting up with you. Because we were the good Samaritans, now we should be blessed for it. In a way, you are blessed because he's there clean and sober. but they talking about money. You know, they need something done now. But the head of the house has spent years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, health. They put on all this thing. They take a lot of years to knock them structures down out of the family. These things are now ruined or damaged. Let's look at some of them. Business. There was a story about an alcoholic that in the book that owned. This alcoholic owned a car dealership, but he lost the car dealership. He had to go back to the same car dealership to work for someone else who owned it. And he had a resentment. I would have had one too. First of all, I don't think I would have went back, but you can't walk around there without a resentment unless you really spiritually fit. But he wasn't that spiritually fit, because they did say he only did 1, 2, and 3. He hadn't even worked on resentments, and he got it gone. All right. So if you lose a business and you like been a business person, quite naturally you do have the confidence to get another one. It don't take that much. If one go, one come. You can do it, but it might not be at the same pace and enthusiasm that you did before. All right. Then it said romance. Any alcoholic, and that includes me, once you're a real alcoholic, the only thing that was pretty, fine, or beautiful, that's from a man perspective, from a lady probably be fine and healthy, is another alcoholic or a bottle. Probably the bottle gonna win out. Only thing beautiful with me was a beer. Bottle of wine or bottle of whiskey. Nothing else was important. You can forget about friendship. I ain't want no friends to see me in this condition. My only friend was y'all. Another drunk. Health. I ain't brushed my teeth for months at a time. I ain't take a bath for 2, 3 weeks. I had to walk to a shelter to take a bath or try to get one real fast in McDonald's. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. Though old buildings will eventually be replaced by, let me read that over. Though old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones. That's a promise. If you stay in recovery, things that were old to you, that you broke down, will come back and be better than ever before. That's a promise. If you get past the first step of putting down alcohol and work the 12 steps. But if you just put down alcohol, it's going to get better. But not at the rate and the success, you know what I'm trying to say, and the happiness and the joyfulness and the freedom you get from doing the 12 steps. Fear of people and economic insecurity will lead you. I walked into a meeting today with all the top executives in Atlanta. And I can tell you, I had no fear. I told them I'm ready to jump off my skin to tell y'all what I want to tell you about my vision. But my point is there was no fear. If I'd been drinking, I probably wouldn't have went. I've been scared to death. That makes sense? So, you're going to get finer things. The new structures would take years to complete. Everything that you have from this point in will have an incubation period, I'm telling you. Don't expect because you clean and sober that things going to change overnight. If you got an ideal, if you're looking for a job, you might have to get this one right here. But the one that you really desire will manifest in your life, but it has to be an incubation period. If you want to have an ego deflator, because we talked about deflating the ego, everything has an incubation period. There's nothing on the planet that does not have an incubation period. There's a time thing. A human being, 9 months. A horse, 16 months. I told you about dogs. I know dogs. 63 days. You see a little dog stuck? 63 days later, puppies. Incubation. Everything. Tomato plant, incubation. The car you drive, incubation. In fact, everything. This tree, this piece of wood right here, this thing right here, it probably took, this is me, 2 million thoughts to put this together. 2 million thoughts. Some man or woman somewhere, or the act of nature, I wasn't there, put a seed in the ground that grew a tree. That took some thoughts. Even if God did it, or nature did it, it had to come from something. It took a thought. Once that thing grew, some people were thinking about how to cut it down. That took some thoughts. The people who cut it down had to think about how they gonna do it. That took a couple thousand thoughts. Nah, we're gonna use this saw or that saw, or this and that. Then once it's hit the ground, they gotta drag it somewhere. Where they gonna push it up water? I've been watching the thing, You put up water, put it on a truck, but they gotta grab it, claw it. That's another 100,000 thoughts. Then you gotta take it to a mill, right? At the mill, they gotta figure out what to do with the bark, what to do with this, how to cut that. That's another 100,000 thoughts. Then after you do that, you gotta take it to some place to make wood. To make tables. If the truck driver got to think about getting it up and around the road, when you get to should I go through the roadblock or should I go around it? Should I go, the scales on the road, on the highway? Should I go through it? Just ride on through. Where the park at? So all these thoughts is coming, all these thoughts, all these man-made thoughts, all these thoughts is going everywhere, and that the final product is this. Incubation. Everything has incubation. So why are we looking for something instant? That means, we're about ready to close, there's some mental and emotional disorder going on. If you think that it just pops up now, there's something wrong. You didn't even think about. If you eat a box of Cheerios, think about that. That's why it's good to say your blessings over food. Because it went a long way. Cheerio went a long way. I don't even know how. If I had to do all that, and I sold Cheerio, I can honestly tell you it'd be more than $4 a box. I don't know how they do it. I have no clue how they can do that for so cheap. It's a long process to get that stuff in the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? That's a long process. I don't know how they do it that cheap. But they do. So it takes, though old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones, that's a problem, the new structure will take years to complete. Everything has a time incubation in it. Everything. You're a college student, you ain't getting your degree tomorrow. It's incubation. And it's work between each state. And in every book you read, every professor that's there, every student that's before you, there's trillions of thoughts to get you right to the seat where you at. It's not done because I'm sitting in here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, it was done before you got there. And if we had that kind of thought going through life, appreciation and gratitude would be a lot more better. Because nothing happened because I made it happen. I don't thank y'all for a good meeting.